This is UMAR AHMED for IFL TV in association for MTK Global. We're in Stevenage, final press conference ahead of Saturday night. Now, when I did that face-off with Tom Little, I saw you say to him, stick a nut on him. Can you confess to that?
I will admit to that, I did do it. It was, but you know, listen, I was just trying to promote the fight.
Fine, Tom Little. Nah. Yeah, no, I didn't hear it at the time, but once watching it back on the video, I could hear your little voice going, oh, stick a nut on him, Tom. Anyway, we're here, 2 days away. Billy Joe Saunders has a chance to create history. 2-weight world champion. Yeah, tell me about his Sufi, though. We don't really know much about him. British public, bit of an unknown quantity. What have you seen in him while studying him in camp?
Well, look, he's coming down from cruiserweight. Billy Joe's coming up from middleweight. That's a big difference there. And, you know, at the end of the day, people may not know him, but he can put his shots together. He's got very good variety, and he's actually got fast hands. I'm sure he'll be able to punch. Looks like he can punch. But, you know, I see some weaknesses that we will be looking to exploit for sure. Obviously, I'm not going to go into them exactly, but they are there.
We saw that picture today that Frank Warren put up of Billy last year, and now what sort of the shape you've got him into now.
This year, that was a couple of months ago. That was in March. It's only in March.
So you've done a tremendous job so far in terms of shape, but we're going to see Saturday night what actually happens in a ring. What do you think is going to be different for Billy this Saturday night?
Well, look, you've seen a lot of different versions of Billy Joe before, anyway, and you'll have to tune in on Saturday to see. But I'm expecting a very, very good performance, and everything's been going well. But listen, it's one step at a time. Like you say, Billy Joe can become two-time 2-weight world champion, but there's somebody else in the ring with him first, and you've got to respect that. He's a professional boxer who's got himself to the #1 in the WBO, and that deserves respect and demands respect.
Be the first travelling man to do so as well.
Yep, 100%. I'm sure Billy Joe will be proud of that. I'm sure his family will be proud of that. And I'm sure the fellow mobile community will be proud of that.
When are you getting your licence for the mobile community?
It is undergoing. There was some difficulties with me going over to America. I wasn't sure if it was a full gypsy licence, but it's underway. I've left it in the hands of Tyson and Billy Joe, so hopefully by the time I'm back from Vegas, it should all be sorted out.
I guess you're flying to Vegas the day after the fight?
Flying to New York for a day's worth of media, then from New York to Vegas, yeah.
Do we know who Isaac Lowe's boxing?
It's underway at the minute. I'm not going to say who at the minute, but there is a couple of options. But there is somebody that I would. There is a preference, should I say? But it will be for Isaac Lowe's WBC International Featherweight title as well.
Let's go back to Billy Joe quickly. Listen, we're going to be talking about what the future holds for Billy. So assuming he gets past Saturday night, are you happy for him to go down to middleweight straight away, or do you want him to stay at super middle?
My personal beliefs is that Billy Joe is a middleweight, but he's looked. You know, I'm not going to lie. He's looked very, very good through training camp. But there's one thing doing that, and one thing doing it on the night. So fingers crossed that there should be a top performance on Saturday. But then we have to look. The only reason Billy Joe's gone up to super middleweight is to open up options, and we'll see what options do open up. And you know, it's just about the right fights at the right time. And for Billy Joe to get those big fights, he's going to have to force those big fights, especially at middleweight.
Let's talk 168 though. Frank mentioned two names up there, in Callum Smith and Eubank Jr. What are your thoughts of them two fighters?
Callum Smith's very, very big at the weight, but I think stylistically for the pair of them, I think it's a tough fight for both of them. Obviously, Callum's massive, and Billy Joe's a very, very slick boxer with fantastic distance, timing, and he's a bigger puncher than what people think, as we saw when he boxed Andy Lee and many others. So it's an interesting one. Eubank Jr., I think he's improved. I do think he's improved. I'll give him that. But he just stylistically, he'll never, and this isn't a criticism to him, but stylistically, he'll never be able to beat Billy Joe Saunders. And, you know, but he has improved. I don't think he'd want to take that fight if he's sensible. But like I say, if options open up and he's willing to take it, I'm sure Billy Joe will be willing to take it, but not underestimating a Sufi for Saturday.
What do you think is more realistic, though, in terms of the opportunities? Your likes of Canelo and Golovkin at 160, or your Eubanks and Callum Smith at 168?
Well, look, that's Billy Joe's division, middleweight. You know, that's where he had his success. He's not moved up to middleweight because he can't, super middleweight because he can't make middleweight. He's moved up because he can't get those fights. But I think that if I was advising Canelo and Golovkin, I wouldn't be saying, let's box Billy Joe Saunders. So it's one of them, like I said, where they're going to have to force that situation. If they can do, Billy Joe would love those fights. Hopefully those options can open up. But it's step by step. Things can change very, very quickly in the boxing world, very quickly.
We know how talented Billy Joe is, and we know actually how hard he trains during camp, but it's always the period away from camp where sort of he loses track. How have you sort of managed to keep him pinned down and focused away, sort of when he's done with training, when he goes home back to the hotel, etc.?
People always say, how's the trainer done it, how's this, how's that, but at the end of the day, he's a grown man. He'll make his own decisions. If I turn my back and he wants to eat something, he's going to eat something. So he wants to do it. He's in a position where he wants the big fights. He wants to really push on in his career while he's in his peak years. And you know, as long as you're enjoying it, he's going to want to keep doing that. So that's a big part of it, enjoying his training. And obviously, you know, with the team we got around us and the company in the gym and in the stable is helping him do that.
Well, if it comes from yourself, that's probably the best thing, rather than someone telling you to do it.
Exactly. Look, at the end of the day, like I say, I can say this, but if I turn my back and I'm not there, he's got to make decisions for himself at the end of the day. Obviously, when he's in camp, he's got his nutritionist and other members of the team there to do things and look over him, and it makes it a little bit easier. But when you're on your own, that's when it really matters, and that's when the decisions are made by yourself. And everybody wants to win on the night. Everybody wants to win on the night, but it's not about who wants to win on the night. It's who wants to win through the training camp for 12 weeks before, 14 weeks before, for years throughout their whole career. Who wants to win more? Are you going to make the right decisions or the bad decisions? And that's where the difference is, you know. And when fighters with the talent of Billy Joe Saunders and Tyson Fury are making the right decisions, you're going to see something special.
Let's move on to Tyson Fury. I know Coogan spoke to you about the WBC ordering him and Dylan White, but then obviously we've recently seen a video from Tyson Fury himself saying he knocked Dylan White out in 6 rounds, only if it's for the diamond belt, though. Is that a bit of tongue-in-cheek from Tyson, or is he being serious? Does he want the Dylan White fight?
Tyson will be willing to take that. Obviously, Tyson's priority is the big two. You know, people talk about the top 3, not the top 4. So obviously, understandably, he wants Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua. If those fights can't be made, I'm sure that fight can get made. But, you know, he's not going to box a final eliminator for somebody that, you know, 99% of the boxing world believe he already beat. So why should he do that? He's not going to do that. But, you know, he's a grown man again. He will speak for himself. And if that's what he wants it to be for, he's saying he'll fight for the diamond belt. I don't see why he wouldn't. And if the WBC can do that, then I'm sure something can be done.
I know you touched on media manipulation with Coogan the other day as well. I think something that's not been touched upon really is, you know how everyone says you guys turned down the rematch with Wilder? Well, I guess because you didn't want to go back on a Showtime card where there was a risk of you guys getting robbed again. Is that the reason?
Of course, and nobody speaks of that. People, you know, if you listen to the other side, they'll say Tyson turned it down, this, that, and the other, but they don't actually say, actually, do you know what? That was a smart business decision to not go back do the same thing. Look, at the end of the day, if you ordered food from a takeaway, if you ordered a takeaway from a certain restaurant and you got that food and you got food poisoning, but yet the next day you went and done it again and got food poisoning again, well, people say you're stupid. Do you know what I mean? It's your fault. So, you know, it's about being smart, and you got to make the right decisions. And like I said, things can change very quickly in the boxing world. And you know, if you make the wrong move, especially the way the heavyweight division is at the minute, if you make a wrong decision business-wise, you can freeze yourself out, put yourself in a very bad situation, and leave gaps for everybody else to take over. So it's difficult.
Exactly, as you said with the takeaway example, it's only your fault and Tyson's fault if you went back on Showtime and the same thing happened again.
That's the definition of stupid.
Anyways, I want to talk about Wilder Brazil this weekend. separate from the fight, really, have you seen Wilder's recent comments? Again, he's come out and said that he wants a body on his record. He wants to kill Brazil because it'd be legal, and he just wants to do it, basically. What do you sort of make of his comments?
Yeah, obviously I keep a keen eye and a close eye on the other two heavyweights in the division and anybody that's around that division and potential opponents. I do think that there's psychological damage there from the Tyson fight. I think that even Deontay's team are looking to. I can see they're trying to make a ton of changes to Deontay Wilder, but for me, the thing is that Deontay Wilder was having a lot of success up until that Tyson Fury fight. Okay, things didn't need changing, unfortunately, and people think that you're just saying that because you're Tyson's trainer, but what they need to realise is. There's nobody that's going to keep up boxing-wise with Tyson. That would happen to anybody. Anybody. Deontay Wilder was doing a good job in that fight. And if Deontay Wilder turns up, as he has done, for any other opponent for Brazil, I think it'll be a good night. Any top opponent, should I say, since he's been world champion. I think he'll have a successful night. But I can see that they're trying to make a lot of changes to him. Obviously, you want to make improvements, but also improvements need to be bit by bit. You can't throw 1,000 different new things at somebody because when there's already psychological damage, which is just my opinion, and then you're throwing that can have an impact on the fighter, and I think that could be the case. But I do still expect Deontay Wilder to have a successful night. But it'll be interesting to see how the changes do affect Deontay Wilder.
So you believe from that Tyson Fury fight, he's kind of lost it a bit and he's coming out with these comments? Because I've never really heard a fighter or a boxer say that they want to kill someone before.
He made a couple of comments before, but like I say, I think there's a lot of frustration there with Deontay Wilder. A lot of frustration. I think he expected, to be able to blast through Tyson. People always underestimate Tyson, and people, underestimate Billy Joe, and then, it's only when they get in there that they realise. And I spoke to Andy Lee about that, funnily enough, and he said that from the outside I looked at Billy Joe and I just thought he's just a textbook southpaw. He said, and when I got in, I realised how clever he is. And I think that was what happened there. And I think, like I say, there's a lot of frustration with Deontay Wilder, so it's an interesting one.
He did a recent interview with Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith on First Take ESPN, and he said that you and Tyson do not categorically want that rematch. You'll never take that rematch because he basically put Tyson asleep and made him unconscious, even though Tyson got up from that. What do you, again, make of them comments?
ESPN made an offer for him to come over to ESPN. Look, if we went over there and said, realistically, if we're just talking realistic, let's not talk silly bollocks. If we're talking realistic, we went over there, we took the risk, went to his backyard, fought him and beat him. Realistically, yeah? Let's not talk nonsense. So for us to go, okay, we beat you, you want to earn that respect back, you come to us. That's only fair. We beat you, you come to us next. We already come to you, fought on your platform where you wanted to fight, and now you come to us if you want that rematch. But he doesn't want to do that, He didn't want to come to the UK, doesn't want to come to our platform, doesn't want to come to our network. And, if he wants to fight, the fight's there. There's no... who else in the heavyweight division has gone to two elite level backyards and done what Tyson's done? Nobody. And nobody can deny that, and nobody can change those facts because those are facts.
How do you think Joshua will get on against Ruiz? I think it's actually a really decent fight, arguably better than the Miller fight, to be honest.
I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think that fair play. They've tried to do their best to get a last-minute opponent, so fair play to them there. I just think, again, stylistically, I think Andy Ruiz relies on catching and countering. He's not really known to use his feet to get in and out of distance quickly. He's got fast hands, but I think against somebody when there's such different physicalities, Joshua's much bigger and much stronger than Andy Ruiz. It's a tough tactic to try and implement. But it'll be an interesting one. Not to say that he can't have success, but I just think it'll be tough for him to have success, trying to catch Joshua's shots and fire back in. When you box Povetkin was, using head movement, sitting underneath the shots and firing back. You can't really rely on taking big shots on the gloves and on the arms to fire back, especially with the size difference.
terms of Joshua, we know he's got a Sky contract. He has to fight on Sky, but he doesn't have to fight on DAZN. He's linked with them, obviously, but he hasn't got a set contract. Do you think Joshua Fury could land up on ESPN? Is that realistic?
Realistic? Of course it's realistic. You know, they're a massive network. Probably the biggest out of all three of them. And yeah, and I'm sure Sky and BT will be able to do something together. But look, it's if they want to make that fight. Like I said, Tyson's the only one that's shown he's not worried about taking a big fight. He stepped to the two elite level fighters, two heavyweight champions backyards. Nobody else has done that. So it's an interesting one.
All right, Ben Davison, appreciate your time. Best of luck with Billy Joe this Saturday night, and then safe travels to the States. I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
So what are you